What's going on out there, good people? It is your boy Look Around with LMD Trading, and you know what time it is. Coming at you, closing the week out this Friday with a green day. Today, we ended up taking 3 trades. We took two trades early on, and then I came back to my desk later on and saw JPM making a move and just took one contract, just a quick scalp, just to try to see if I can add a few more dollars to the account, and that's what we did. So let's go ahead, get TraderView pulled up. We'll look at the numbers, we'll pull the charts up, and go from there. The watch list was a little thin this morning. Didn't really know what to expect from the market because it had just been trading a little sideways early on, but it ended up working itself out. Just needed it to make a couple of breaks, and that's what it did. But like I said, took 3 trades. Closed P&L on the day for $251. So made up for a couple of bad days that we've had in February. The first trade we took was on AFRM. This trade here was actually, I don't even know how to say it. I don't know. Interesting, a snafu. It was just a mess up, basically, that ended up working out. AMD was a all-around good trade. And JPM coming in at the end of the day was a good trade. But we'll go ahead and get the charts pulled up, and we'll get to looking at these trades one by one. And then you'll see what I mean when I say that AFRM was a screw up. And actually, before we do that, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up my watch list. I had a couple of people in the group ask, how do I watch my ideas? So this here, like I said, is the page. This page sits on a screen all to itself in the mornings, and based on how many ideas is based on how many of these little squares will get filled up. Each of these is a 2-minute chart, and I'm just looking for a pattern. And normally they aren't this small, because somebody else asked, like, you can't really see what's going on. Normally the candles actually even a little bigger than that. Usually that's about the size that they are right there. In the evenings, I shrink it down just so that I can get the entire day on the screen, so you can kind of see what the stock did all day. But when it's running, the candles are normally that size, so I can kind of see patterns forming. I could see if it's in an uptrend. I could see if a buy setup is forming. I could see if we getting a breakout or a breakdown, whatever the case may be. So they aren't tiny like you see here. So like, let's say like that little stretch right there, that's usually about a good size. So I can see if it's going to be breaking down. I can see where the pullbacks are at and things of that sort. But these are the ones that we was watching. BRCC I was actually watching to trade in my regular margin account that I buy stocks in. Everything else I was looking at to trade options on. And like I said, I ended up getting into a firm. We got into AMD, which I don't have on here. Let me pop that one in just so we can kind of see what we were looking at. And everything we traded today were puts. We were trading everything on the market going down. And when the market would go down, it would pretty much take everything with it. Market would pull back. Most of them would kind of pull back with the market. So we were just playing everything to go down, and I was just waiting on, basically waiting on the market to break key levels. Once it broke a key level, kind of knew it was headed down. So if you look at AMD, you can kind of see the pattern AMD was in, and you can kind of see the pattern that the market was in. AMD, once it broke, it just broke. It was showing weakness to the market. While the market would pull back, AMD would just keep tanking. AFRM was almost the opposite at times. The market would be going down, and AFRM will show a little strength to the market, and then once the market would totally tank, then it would take AFRM with it. So I was watching the market for those key areas that it needed to break, because early on in the market, the SPY was kind of trading in between the VWAP. Actually, it was trading in between the 50-day moving average and the area of support. And then once it broke that area of support, it was just tanking out. And we just played it that way. And then same thing with the Q. QQQ kind of traded in between a range, and when it broke, it would take stocks with it. So that's how we were watching those today. But we'll go ahead, pull up our first trade, and we'll get to reviewing it. So, all right, that first trade that we took was AFRM, AFRM. And first trade that we took was at 936, and we took 2 contracts. And if you see, you may be able to see it. I had put a note on the screen just telling myself when I was looking at this on my thumbnail watch list that I'm playing puts. And you can kind of see it right there before that candle started forming. So I had put that on the chart before the market opened, so I could know, like, don't be looking at this thing and trying to play it to the upside like you will like to do sometimes. But first trade we got in 936. So that's 936 right there. And this one here clearly had this marked, but there was enough space in between there. See, that says 52.25. That down there was 51. So we had about $1 worth of room in there, which is all we wanted to get out of it. Because you see, it came and it tested it and it pulled back up. So we got in at 936, and I really can't put the time that we got out because we kind of let this one ride. But the snafu on this one was at 940, AMD was making a move. And AMD was one that someone called out. It wasn't one that was on my watch list. It was one that somebody called out in the group or the chat that I sit in. And that's the beauty of sitting in those chats like that, is that sometimes it's a stock that you're not watching, but somebody else may be watching it. And if you take a peek at it and it meets your trading plan, you may want to get in it. So AMD, I took at 940. And for this one, I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to bring Trader View back up real quick, just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So if you see right there on AMD, I took that one at 940 in 24 seconds. But I'm going to go back to AFRM. So first contract, 936. We took on AFRM, 2 contracts. I saw the move happening on AMD. So I found the contract that I wanted to buy, but I didn't click it and load it into my order book. I still had a firm loaded in from just buying that one at 936. So at 940 and 13 seconds, I bought two contracts for a firm, which I did not want to buy. I was supposed to have been buying two AMD contracts. So when I bought those, now I'm stuck. Now I'm stuck in with those two. So we'll go back to a firm and see where we were getting in on those. And then we'll go back to AMD. So we got a firm back pulled up and we're going to go to 940. And you'll see why I said it was no way I would have bought those. We're coming right up on support. I'm like, what the heck? So now I'm in the money a little bit on these. I'm in the money a little bit on those. But now I know that this one here is about to bounce. There's no way it's going to continue going low, even though we had a top and tail. Even though we have a top and tail, decent volume, we're coming up on support. So this is going to bounce. And it did. And it bounced. One of the good things was we were kind of wedged in between the VWAP and this support. But it broke the VWAP. And luckily, it didn't break it and take off. So I kind of stayed in this one here. This one here, my stop would have been about right there. But we ended up just staying in it, watching it. So if this thing had have came, tested VWAP, and took off and set a new higher low, then I would have got out and I probably would have stopped out for a little bit more than I would have wanted to stop out. But when this thing broke the VWAP and it just kept testing this area of support, I was like, I'm going to just hold this and see what happens. So we held it and we ended up getting out at 11:30 on the first contract. Because again, we had 4 contracts now. So now I'm getting out of them in lots of 2. So the first 2 that I got out of, and let me go over here. The first 2 that we got out of was at 11:30. So on that candle right there. So as it's coming down and getting close to this area of support, because an area of support is just that. It's an area. A lot of times, like it did right there, it'll get right on that area. But if you get a decent move, sometimes it won't come all the way back down to the support. It'll kind of bounce before it gets to support. So I got out of 2 contracts right there. And we got out of those. So we got in the first set of contracts for $315 per contract. The second set of contracts we got in at $3 or $340, $3.40 a contract. So these 2 contracts, we got out break even if you were looking at them on the second set. So we got in that second set at $340. We got out of these 2 contracts at $340. And then we got out of the last 2 contracts a minute later. So a minute later, we got out of those on this candle. And we got out pretty much at the end of this candle. So we probably were getting out down here at the bottom. We got out at 11:31 and 54 seconds. So we probably would have been getting out at the bottom of that candle. And on those 4 contracts, we made $110. But take a look at what this thing did. So it just tested. So we could have chanced it down. But again, we're in two contracts that we really shouldn't have been. So I was just happy to get out making money, but we made decent money. But this thing just hugged right here, testing this area of support. And again, notice how it says an area. So it's making moves just around it. Then it broke it, came back, tested it, broke it, and then it came down to another area that we had marked on the chart, tested that area, it broke that area, broke it, tested it, broke down, and here we see it set low of the day at 45.58. And let's see where it closed. So it just kind of meandered along and closed there. But those last contracts we sold at 370. And let's see where we were at. That's $50 put, $50 puts. It closed at 5.22. So $522 per contract. We got in that first set at 315. So that was $210 per contract profit. That, or not profit, but potential profit had we just stayed in that to the end of the day. But we got what we wanted out of them, even on a snafu of buying two contracts that we shouldn't have bought, and ended up working itself out. Again, that's one of those ones I like to say it was a good trade, but it wasn't really a good trade because those two contracts we shouldn't have been in. So that was AFRM. Next one that we took, now we'll go ahead and review AMD. AMD, we got in at 940. Let's bring that back. 940 would have been that candle right there. So this one here, I'm going to say it, and I got lucky. I won't say I got lucky. I should have been getting in after this retest. We broke this area that we had marked on the chart. Good clean area. And look at what it's testing. It's testing that area and the VWAP. That's like two areas of confirmation. And then if you look at the 5-minute, you have three areas converging. You got this area that we had marked. That's price action from prior days. You have the VWAP and you have the 50-day moving average. So you have all three areas right here. You have all three areas converging, and you have a nice top and tail mixed in. But if we come back on a 2-minute, again, nice move down, nice pullback. The pullback is half of this. I'm getting excited on this one. This pullback is half. That's another good sign of confirmation with top and tails. So right there would have been good entry. That there would have been a good entry for money. That's like good money. Like back the truck up. We about to get paid money. And we see what it did. It came down, tested VWAP, broke, tested VWAP, broke. Didn't quite pull back all the way to VWAP, but if I throw a line right there, look where it pulled back to, this area of resistance. So it really didn't need to pull back to VWAP because you're hitting right here where you had some resistance at. Boom, broke back down again. This one we got out at 958. So we got out right there. We got out right there. Two contracts And that was $116 we made on that trade. 18 minutes in and out. I always say that I don't like to sit in through pullbacks. And look at that. We got out right at the bottom. Perfect exit. I really don't like to sit through the pullback, but it would have been good to get in right there. Could have got back in another 2 contracts, rolled it back down. Again, this wouldn't have been marked on the chart, but when we start seeing buying pressure, we probably would have got out right there. Same way you see that bottoming tail, that's buying pressure. So that was my signal to get out of this trade right there, that bottoming tail. But definitely could have got out, let this pull back, and then rode it. But the one reason that we didn't do that was because we made that snafu on AFRM, and I was kind of watching that one to see what it was going to do before I put some more money on the line. But definitely missed out on a good spot right there. Probably would not have gotten in right there, even though we throw a price action line right there. All I'm doing is putting this where this one bottomed and started making its move at. Look where those was bumping their heads at. They're bumping their heads right off of this point. And that's the beauty of technical analysis. It's simplistic. It's simplistic, but it works. And that's what I love about it. It's simplistic, but it works. You set up the study for the VWAP. The stock is going to respect it. You start putting your price action lines on. The stock is going to respect it. And we see just in those 2 lines what it did. But look at what this thing did. It just kept tanking. It just kept tanking. Still hadn't got to where it say we hit a low of the day at. Bam. End of the day, 1540. So 340, and we finally hitting the low of the day. Those contracts we got in for $222. We got out of them for $280. Those were 120 puts. So we'll come up here, AMD, 120 puts, and I don't even want to look, but I already caught it out the side of my eye. $875. Those contracts closed at $875. That is $600 per contract more than we got out of them for. So if your trading plan said buy and hold till end of the day, you would have been up $600 per contract. $1,200. So you would have spent $444. You'd have spent $444, and you would have closed those contracts out for $1,750. That's the beauty of options. So had my trading plan said get in the contract, set your stop. So you got your lower stop, set that lower stop. This upper stop, we not going to put it. We just going to let this thing run all day. If it never comes down, stop this out on that lower. We'll close it at the end of the day at whatever it closes for. Would have been up $1,750 getting out of the trade off of a $444 investment, and you'd have made $1,300 on 2 contracts. That's the beauty of options, and that's the beauty of trading them in a small account. That's the beauty of trading them in a small account. It doesn't take a lot of money to see a greater return on your investment. And it kind of tells you that when you buy the contract. So when you click to buy a contract, it pretty much tells you that. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna do this one right here. Let's see. It ain't gonna. Let's see. Buy custom. Let me try it that way. Actually, no. Can't do it that way. What's another way I could do it? Let's go flexible grid. Oh, I don't have. Oh, yeah, I did. Computer just super slow. All right, that's red. I'm going to add this one. Bear with me real quick. I'm going to add this to my daily ideas. I'm going to unclick auto send. Click that. And there we go. That's what I'm trying to get to right there. So it tells you the max loss, $293, because that was the price that I clicked in at. So the maximum that I can lose on this trade is $293. That's the maximum that I could lose. But look at the max profit, $15,000. A lot of times when you click this, it doesn't give you an amount. It just says infinite. It just says infinite. But the reason that it's giving you this max now is because this contract will expire next week. So in that week's worth of time, the most that you can make, the maximum profit on a $293 investment is $15,000. That's basically this stock tanking. Is it going to tank? Nah, it ain't going to tank. So that max profit is, and actually I can't say that because some bad news can come out and it can nosedive. We've seen with, what was that, Netflix, I think, that tanked out not long ago. So you can get a pretty good move, but that just shows you the potential. That just shows you the potential that you have with options. But that was AMD. Again, we were in the trade 18 minutes. We made $100 off of it. We got what we wanted out of it, and I'm not mad. I can come back and look at these numbers and say, dang, I left all that money on the table. But nah, I didn't leave that money on the table. I stuck to my trading plan, and I got what I wanted out of the trade. So I may have to revisit my trading plan and say, keep it in there all day. Nah, I won't do that. But last trade of the day that we took was JPM. We traded JPM quite frequently this week. We traded it quite a bit, made good money. Actually, I bought contracts even in my main account that I held on to for a couple of days. And I closed those out today and made some good money on those as well. But this last one, we took it 1327. Like I said, I was just sitting back down at the desk, kind of looking and see what the market had done. And got in this one at 1327. And if you look over here on the 2-minute, and more so the 5-minute, because once you kind of get, and this is just one of the things that I kind of do, as the day progresses. So early in the morning, I'm primarily looking at the 2-minute. I'll look at the 2-minute, kind of peep at the 5-minute. But as the day progresses, I like to use the longer time frames to kind of give me my bias on what it's doing. But if you look right here, you see that this was kind of setting up for a nice breakdown on the 5-minute. And we see it on the 2-minute, but the 5-minute was confirming it. And then we had room down to the 50-day moving average. And that's why I kind of looked at the 5 to kind of get my guide on how much room we had down, because I hadn't put any areas of support or resistance down here because I wasn't really watching this stock. But we got in right as it broke this level here, and we got out at 1336. So we got out right there. And this was one that we just, when we got in, I set my stop just above it. So it had about a maybe $15 stop. And I set my target at $25. And you can see how much we left on the table. Actually, could have came in, worked the numbers, and set my stop down here comfortably. But again, this was just going to be a quick little scalp just to kind of add some money to the account. And 9 minutes later, we were out of the trade. We made 1R. This was on one contract. So had we purchased 2 contracts, we would have hit what we wanted as our target. But again, one contract, stop loss at about $12. That's half of what we normally would be risking. And we only wanted to make the 1R out of it. So good trade. Definitely left a little bit of money on the table. And if you look, it came, like I said, I swear by having this 50 on my charts, because the price action respects it. Came down, tested it, broke it, tested, came and broke it, and then it just kind of traded right around it. That's where it set low of the day at, and then it just closed right below it. This one here, we bought them at $179. This was a $155 put, JPM 155. We got out of it at $204, and it closed at $289. So it's another $85 that if we was riding this to the end of the day, we kind of probably could have squeezed out of it. But again, I had the numbers in mind on what I wanted to make off of it, and I made that, so I was happy with it. But like I said, that's how we finished the day. 3 trades, all 3 green, and ended the week good. Not mad on how we ended that one. We'll go ahead, pull up Trader View real quick just to look at the numbers for the week, and we'll get up out of here. I'm gonna just do these for this week. So we'll filter it, come back to overview. Let's see what we did this week, detailed. So this week we made 371. Not bad, not bad. Average daily gain 92. A little short of the $100 a day we want to make, but we had some red days in there. Average winning trade 65, so that's good. Average losing trade $30, that's good. We've dropped that down. Like I said, we want to keep it about 25. The one thing with the options is, as long as we trade in options that have a real tight spread, we really can control this. But when that spread is a little wider, then that number can kind of get away from us. Average wins 53, average losers 33. Not quite 60-40, which we had been seeing, but we did have 2 trades that were scratch trades. Largest gain 116, largest loss 49. That's good. I could deal with 49, especially depending on how many contracts we had. Average holds 22 on the wins, 24 on the losses. Again, I always say those losers we need to kind of cut quick. If we see it's not going to work, scratches are 11. That's usually going to be right in between that hold time, and that's exactly where it's at. Wednesday was our bad day. That was a $50 loss day. And greens on those other three. So let's take a peek. And what did we yeah, that's what I thought. No trades on Monday. So in 4 days, that's not bad. We're not accounting for any trades on Monday. And then we'll clear this out. And so for the month, we've had 3 reds, 4 greens. Not bad, not bad. Let's take a look at the big picture. That was a pretty hefty size loss day. A little bit more than, that's where I want to cut it off on this account. About $75, 3R on my losing days. But good winning day, good winning day, good winning day. And we just did get out of that one making some money. But we'll go ahead, shut this one down. Hope y'all have enjoyed it. And we'll get back at it again next week. Probably do a little studying this weekend. See what we can learn from the charts. But again, when we look at the charts and we properly mark them with these areas, and you have good studies on your chart, and you just respect those studies. And like I said, for me, what I found is that the 50 and the VWAP is a perfect combination for me to trade with. Some people like to use a 9-day moving average or a 20-day moving average, which I've used both of those. When trading, but for me, I've just come to love that these two right here. And like I said, like looking at the SPY, if you didn't have the 50 on there, you wouldn't really know why this was coming up over the VWAP and coming back down. You wouldn't know that was acting as resistance. And like I said, early on in the morning, it was trading between the 50 and this area of support that we had marked. Once the SPY broke that, then I'm like, okay, we're in business to this next area. Sure enough, came down, bounced. Now we trading in between these two areas. But if you look, you see that the VWAP was coming down to catch up to that area. Traded in between them. When it broke this area, all bets were off. And it just made a nice move. So that's it. If you're going to be trading, definitely make sure that you marking your price action areas and make sure that you're using moving averages that the stock respects. And like I said, for me, VWAP, and this one here is actually one that I know it's not in there. It's one that I created the study on. You can add a 50 moving average to your 5-minute chart, but it's going to be timed out to the 5-minute chart. So what I did was I created this study, and I can put what I want that moving average to be timed out to. And I found that it respects the 50 moving average on the hourly chart. So I just put the hourly as my period for 50. And if you look on every time frame, so on the 5-minute, it's going to give me the same number that it was going to give me on the 15, that it's going to give me on the hourly. It's going to have, this number is going to correlate to what the 50 moving average is on the hourly chart. So just be aware, if you go into the studies and you put a 50 moving average It's not going to show you this number on the 5 minute. It's going to show you, oh, I'm sorry, it's going to show you the 5 minute 50 moving average, which is different. And let's see, got what? A couple of more minutes. So let's just hang for a couple of more minutes. We'll do moving average exponential. So we want that one. We'll come here. I'm going to change that to 50. So 50 moving average exponential. And this one I'll keep as a solid line. And we'll look and see what the difference is. So now you can see this is the 50 moving average based on a 5-minute time frame or a 5-minute chart. For some people, that might work. They may be able to kind of correlate it. And if you look, you see that it did stay below it. But for me, that's not what I like to see. I like to see it based on the hourly. So that's why I ended up coming up with my LMD moving average. And like I said, it just, the price just respects it. See it over here on the 15-minute. It just respects it. Let's look at the Qs real quick and see. Look how it opened up on the Qs. It came right up here to the top of it, respected it, and just moved on down. Once it separated, it never did go back up to need to test it. And at that point, we're not worrying about it. We're worrying about our price action up in here. So hope you're able to learn something, as I am always learning, being a new trader. But I know some of the people that I follow that are experienced, and they learn stuff all the time. So we are never too experienced not to learn something. I tell people that every day in my business. I own an embroidery business, and people always ask me that's thinking about getting into embroidery, how long did it take you to learn everything that you know? I tell them every day I go out in my shop, I can learn something new. Every day I go out in the shop, I can learn something new. And I've had my embroidery shop since 2009. So every day you can learn something new in this market. And that's what it's all about. But I'm going to go ahead, wrap this one up. I hope you've enjoyed it. And we will do it again next week. Peace.